I strongly believe that how a person handles themselves in public says a lot about that person. So last night, I was at a convenience store. I was the first in line right at the till, and then there was like not a very long queue. There was about 4 or 5 people behind me. So my things are being packed, being counted. Then a woman, looks like she's in such a rush, comes from nowhere, skips the queue, just places her things right on the till. And I'm just like, oh, what ill manners. And I didn't mind. I'm already there. My things are being counted. And she's acting like she's in such a hurry. Anyways, one of the people on the queue, one of the guys who was on the queue, it's like he recognizes her and he's like, oh, your worship, how are you? Goes to greet her. Yeah, they exchange these pleasantries. And yeah, so she goes, today we have no power in my house. I just came to grab a few things. You know how it is in my area. For me, power doesn't go. I just make a few calls and it's restored. But today, whoever I call, I'm being referred to the next person and they keep doing that. So I said, let me come out and grab a few things. I'm like, so I look at the face again. I recognize the face. It's Deputy Mayor of Lusaka. Keti Nanyangwe. I'm like, oh, okay, good for our friends. They just make calls and power is restored in that area, right? That's not just it. There she goes. The conversation continues with the man she was with. And so the man had said something about trying to talk to someone. Then she goes, oh, you've been trying to talk to him. Let me even call him right now. She goes on the phone. She gets on the line. She's like, hi, how are you? Sorry for calling so late, but you know me. I call anytime. I can call anytime. Anyways, do you know Mr. Kaliminwa? And then I'm guessing the person on the other end said they knew the person or something, or maybe they were doubtful, because she goes, you should know Mr. Kaliminwa. These are the bad boys of State House. Anyways, I'm with him right now. I want you to help him out with something. I'm giving him the phone. I'll give him your number. So she hands the phone over to the man who had recognized her. They talk, the two talk over the phone, and whatever, they're done with their conversation. I'm just there thinking, if you're in public service and now you're in a public in front of people, you really think you can afford to talk so recklessly? People are going through long hours of load shedding. At my house, me personally, over 24 hours we've not had power. And here's somebody that is the deputy mayor of the city, and she's saying at her place power doesn't go because she makes calls. How reckless is that? I was listening and I'm like, oh my goodness, power really is sweet, right? Power is sweet that people can afford to talk so recklessly in public. I'm telling you this, the more things change, the more they stay the same. The person who said this was onto something, and this is exactly what we are seeing now. Nothing has changed. Bad behavior, terrible, terrible behavior.
So that was her take. I have absolutely nothing wrong with how she put it, how she described the scene, and how she even delivered it on TikTok. Over the last 60 years, if you start from our forefathers, there was respect for the people to a certain degree, especially the disrespect you could talk attached to the disrespect they had then would be the issue of when you go to vote, there's a picture of a certain candidate, and the next one is either a hoe, a frog, or something, you know? Yes.
I was thinking of another kind of hoe. Okay, yes.
Not a hoe. Yeah, but in this case, she was aggrieved. She decided to, and she was not emotional here, she was actually speaking very nice, very curt, sharp, and she made a point. What is sad is that she had to retract that.
Okay. So why do you think she retracted it?
I have no reasons why she did that.
But what's your perception of what she said, first of all? Like the actual content of what she said. What's our bone of contention here? Her as the listener or the lady as the deliverer of the message? Which one do we have an issue with?
She has an issue, and I agree with her, how the public officer behaved in public. Because undoubtedly, you are holding public office. People are going to recognize you. You don't need to flaunt. We know why you've been put in that
But why
office.
do you think she's flaunting?
I don't know. But my speculation is very simple here. I told you, over the last 60 years, the disrespect politicians have had for this country's citizenry has just gone to another level.
Over the last how many?
Over the last...
Do you think from KK's time that he had disrespect?
KK, it had to be his way.
Did it though?
Yes.
From the very beginning. And you and I can't speak on that. The first 10 years of
no, we were not there.
independence.
We were not... Well, I wasn't born.
You weren't. Are you sure?
I was not born.
But the first 10 years of independence, do you really think that, you know, I personally think anybody who was in the party at that time, they had strong morals, they had strong standards, and they did what they believed in. The people who fight for independence, it comes from, I think, a special place, right? Because you're at risk. You are at risk of the British government arresting, imprisoning.
Yeah.
You know, Mandela was imprisoned, killing you. In other countries, they've been killed.
Oh, Kaunda was imprisoned.
Yeah. So the person who, the people who fight for their country's independence, I think that's a totally different category of people. Now, you fought for independence. We're now 10 years down the line. So you've established certain things and ways of being. Let's hit that 27 years when we started talking about the multi-party state. That's when things started to change, right? Let's take 5 years off that, actually. When, maybe even a bit more, when people, do you remember when people used to be like, you can't say anything against Kaunda?
Yeah.
Because you'll be arrested. You'll be like, the message became very different from this is the person who saved us to this is the person who's suppressing us, right?
Yeah.
But when you look at the way Kaunda was very quick to accept the multi-party system, and then we move from single party to multi-party, then we have those years of Chiluba and subsequent people.
Yeah.
It's, I think, at that point where it became more a cultural perspective. And the issue I have with culture, and I believe women suffer from this more than men, women must be seen, not heard. You have a job, sit quietly, right? And I think the same happens once you have a political leader. They take that cultural perspective. I'm the leader, you sit quietly. Your opinion doesn't matter. I am the leader. And then even from people who are around them, even you'll go behind the back of your kateka and you'll be like, and then you come back to his face and you're, so that's where I'm coming from with this cultural thing. We have this issue of our cultural perspective, our government perspective, and then I like this digital perspective because that's what this young lady is, right? She's bringing in this digital perspective of my individual opinion is that I don't agree with the way that this person has operated.
100%.
But then what did she do?
She retracted.
She expressed a strong opinion.
Yeah.
She went viral in Zambia. Everyone was sharing it. And when someone downloads your video off whatever TikTok or social channel, whatever, and now it spreads without being through TikTok, you are viral.
Yeah.
4 days later, what did she do?
She pulled it off. She went and said sorry and pulled off the original video.
Why?
Kept the apology video.
Yes.
I don't think she did it out of her own volition. I think, regrettably, she was pushed in that direction. That's what I think.
Right. So keep your job, do this, lose your job, keep your social media.
We see, whichever bracket she falls in, there was pressure, which was either going to affect her employment, her well-being, and she can't go beyond that right now because the options are probably very limited for many of us here in Zambia. In other countries, the Western world, and other countries that really know or appreciate more of the meaning of democracy, they are more expressive, appreciate more, maybe understand it better, but it's a very confusing word. But we're going to say, look, why should I have the freedom to speak, but no freedom after I speak? All right? That's how I relate to that particular episode that she went through. Because personally, I think she didn't feel okay with it, but she had to do it. Now, when you talk about the first 10 years of the Kaunda regime, I think the beauty about that is that they were all high on achieving independence. All right, they were comparing with the other friends, the other countries, and the fact that we've wrestled independence away from the colonizers. Let's lead our people into victory, promised land and whatnot. So they were focused on trying to make some deliveries. Mind you, at the point we got independence, there is also another understanding that we were not ready. The Brits were not ready to hand it over. So there are a lot of things that were missing that our people needed to learn on their own. So there's some disconnect, but we got our independence, we grabbed it, we fought for it, and we started working towards it. So the distractions in the first 10 years were not there in my opinion. The distractions that we've been having from that age leapfrog it to the information age is very different. If you do remember, it was the age where for Zambia there was one channel, TV, one radio channel. Now you've got over 100 radio
One
stations.
electricity company.
Yes. So now we cannot be caught up in the issue of the electricity company dictating this now, and we go with it. That is why I'm saying in the last 60 years, the one major thing that we have failed to sort out is address the issue of the disrespect the country gets from its leadership and its corporate citizens as well. As a corporate,
I mean,
yeah.
what you're calling disrespect, I'm calling the cultural element, right? Because it's not disrespect. The people accept what Kateka is saying, even if they don't agree. So it's not disrespect. Disrespect implies that I've insulted you. And if I insult you, you don't just accept an insult.
But isn't that one perspective of seeing it? Like, he said this and respected me. For instance, okay, here's another example. Let's see if I have that video.
That
Play it.
as of October, the country will have at least 3 hours
Wow.
of stable power supply
We're so
daily
lucky.
for retail customers. You can even clap for me even if you are annoyed.
Even if you're annoyed. Kwati ndichikuba.
This is a direction
Are you annoyed? Clap for me.
to say that we are doing all what it takes to respond to the challenges that we are going through.
It just sounds like a moron.
So, you see the other perspective I was talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not arguing with you from a cultural perspective. There are some cultural understandings that we think are okay. Especially when you spoke about the issue of an elder person saying something. They are wrong, but wakalamba. You know what I mean? So you go and find another elder person to go and talk to them. So the chain goes back, then they come back to you and say, okay, I spoke to them, it's going to be okay. Now, what this gentleman did is blatant disrespect. And here's the bad side
It's
of it.
arrogance.
No, it's okay. Let's change the word.
arrogance.
Hubris. Aye, we use hubris. But here's the thing. The audience bloody clapped. Malama, the
Now,
audience clapped.
Yes, but this is where I say the cultural part of Zambia is we don't know how to be confrontational. Zambians are very good at just sitting and behaving. But then after we go behind, then we start saying, what you want to clap? Why did you want to clap for me?
60 years of independence. All right? We've picked out the cultural challenges we've had, the behavior of public citizens, both appointed politicians and the companies that are run by the government. We've talked about how things could be different. What we should say now is beyond the next 60 years, should it be like this?
It won't be.
Should it take 60 years, really?
Look, everybody's journey is different and every country's journey is different.
Yeah.
Right? Zambia, everyone loves to say, we've not had war. But look at Israel, right? we are not a warring country, does that mean we should become a warring country in the next 60 years? Should we get a few more guts behind us and actually stand up for ourselves? And the problem is, when you stand up for yourself, it means you'll be arrested, you'll be beaten. In Zambia, you've got mob justice,
Mob justice.
right?
Yeah.
And that's what people don't want to experience. Very few people. And Zambia, a lot of people are very much like, what if you get arrested? Right? We've got no backbone in that sense. So how will the next 60 years change if the people don't change? There's that saying, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.